Crucial climate talks open in Glasgow. More than 120 world leaders are gathering to discuss how to avert a global catastrophe. Professor Ben Horton, Director at the Earth Observatory of Singapore, joins us live now for more on this. Professor Horton, G20 leaders have just met. They've made few commitments on the climate front at those talks. Will COP26 be any different?
Well, I think all citizens of planet Earth have to hope that it will be. I think we have to take great positives that the world leaders are meeting to discuss a topic such as climate change. But making an assessment of the progress of that meeting will be complex because COP26 will be different from other climate meetings because it won't deliver one new treaty or one big win. Rather, it will be a series of small victories that we're going to look at. New climate pledges from countries, new climate pledges from companies and investors. And our success, the success will be whether it keeps the Paris goals alive. And I think this is important for your viewers to be aware of, that the climate goals are to make sure that our temperatures don't cross a 1.5 or, importantly, a 2 degrees C threshold. And that means 2 degrees C warmer than pre-industrial temperatures. We've already 1 degree C above that. But if we go above 2 degrees C, the impacts on society are catastrophic. So if we go above 2 degrees C, the Antarctic ice sheet, which holds 65 metres of sea level rise, will start to collapse. Our Great Barrier Reefs, 99% of our Great Barrier Reefs will be extinct if we cross those thresholds. So the urgency on action is really, really crucial. And we're way off those targets. That's the worrying thing to me. The Paris Agreement says that we need to peak our emissions by 2030. Current reductions mean that we have an increase of 20% above peak emissions by 2030. So we're missing the goal by quite a lot right now.
Yeah, there does certainly seem to be a gap between what's needed and what's pledged. Realistically, then, what do you think can be achieved during the next 2 weeks?
Well, I think certain governmental leaders and advocates have to use a variety of levers. So the first thing I would hope from COP26 is that we see ambition. We've seen how climate change, the science has accelerated, that changes are happening far quicker than we thought. We've seen wildfires, we've seen flooding, we've seen drought, and we've seen heat waves. So just as the climate change is starting to accelerate, we need to see accelerations in emission reductions. So Denmark and Grenada have been put in place to try and lead these more ambitious reductions. Great Britain, for example, are going to come up with proposals of their own to ask countries in only 2 years' time to come back with more ambitious proposals. And this is including the complete phasing out of coal, the use of clean vehicles, and stopping deforestation and the loss of our biosphere. If we can get these sort of more ambitious pledges, then maybe we can keep to the Paris Agreement. Another thing that needs to happen in COP26 is there needs to be a rule book. It's one thing saying you're going to meet carbon neutrality by 2050. There's another thing to be transparent, to know what is happening. And so this then gets to thorny issues such as carbon markets, how countries will set climate targets. And Singapore's trying to lead on this. It wants to be the centre of carbon exchange in Southeast Asia. But to do that, you need regulation, you need monitoring. So we need to see that if someone's investing, let's say, in nature-based solutions, are they getting what they deserve in terms of increases of biosphere and reductions in carbon?
Well, Professor Horton, the ambition that you speak of needs participation and it needs action. And some of the world's biggest emitters, like China, Russia, they're pushing back against cutting those emissions. How's that going to impact negotiations for COP26?
Well, obviously, it makes it a lot more difficult. We seem to have this changing keyboards of different people having pro or anti-climate rhetoric. But, so prior to the Biden administration, we had Donald Trump, who removed the United States, historically the biggest emitter, away from the Paris Agreement. Now Biden is back in, and Biden seems to be leading the charge. But climate change is a global problem. It will affect every single person on this planet. So every single country needs to be committed to climate action. Climate science and technology will need the greatest minds from everywhere around the world. So what would be hoped that irrespective of whether the Chinese president comes to COP26, that their country still has the pledges in place to reduce their emissions and meet carbon neutrality by the middle of the 21st century.
Many thanks, Professor Horton. We'll be speaking to you again over the next 2 weeks, I'm sure. Professor Ben Horton from the Earth Observatory of Singapore.